Okay, so we are jumping from what we were ending, the Mizmor of Tehillah David, chapter 86, Mizmor Pevav. We're going to finish that off in a different day because we want to, being that Shah B'Av is upon us, go to a Mizmor that's relevant to Shah B'Av. In general, there's two different chapters of Tehilim relevant to Shah B'Av. One is Ayin Tet, chapter 79, which we covered in this class. So you're welcome to ask for the recording of that. We covered that some few months ago. And the other one, that Mizmor is Mizmor La'asaf. That is twice mentioned, one in the beginning of the Mizmor, in the nighttime of Shah B'Av, and the other in its entirety when we say the Chinot in the morning of Shah B'Av. The other Mizmor of Tehilim, and the more famous one you can say, that is relevant and appropriate for Shah B'Av is Mizmor Chof Lamed Zayin 1, chapter 137, Al Naharot Babel, on the rivers of Babylon. That Mizmor is sung or recited on Shah B'Av in the day prior to the Torah being taken out. So, and it's definitely the more well-known of the Mizmorim, and it's definitely one that is more exactly relevant and refers to the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash, Mizmor 137, Chof Lamed Zayin. So that's what we're going to address in the next 2 days, today and tomorrow, Azat Hashem, and prepare ourselves better for Shah B'Av. So this is fascinating because the way this Mizmor works, we are in Mizmor Chof Lamed Zayin, chapter 137. The way this Mizmor works is the way several others in Tehilim do. And that is, as we'll see, we're assuming, authored by David HaMelech, as there's no author. Normally the anonymous ones, we assume are David HaMelech. But even if it wasn't, it was the Bnei Korah or Asaf or anyone else who lived early on in the first Beit HaMikdash, you know that what we're about to read, crying on the rivers of Babylon, the author was not present. And therefore, let's assume it's David HaMelech for a moment. This Mizmor had to be said in prophecy. It was composed in prophecy, where the author projects himself forward in time and then talks to us as an existing participant of that event in the future history. So you have several others, Mizmorim and Tehilim, that work that way. So that's what's fascinating about this Mizmor. Let's read the first pasuk and give it historical context. Pasuk Aleph. Al Naharot Babel, Sham Yashabnu, Gam Bachinu, Zochrenu et Zion. On the rivers of Babylon, which is modern day Iraq. There we sat, we lived. Gam Bachinu, we also cried when we remembered Zion, Yerushalayim. I remember when I was a kid in elementary school, they had an English song that went with this, On the Rivers of Babylon. I don't know if you know that song, but I won't sing it now. In any case, this is well known to the Goyim as well, this song, this chapter. It's not really a song, it's a lamentation, really. So what is it referring to? This was composed as a reflection of the destruction of the first Beit HaMikdash, when Nebuchadnezzar Harasha, the evil king of Malchut Babel, the Babylonian Empire, invaded us and rampaged, overtook, murdered, and perpetrated all type of terrible tragedy to us, culminating with the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash. And then those who survived, many of them were brought as we call captives to Babel, to Iraq, to where their home base was. And there we are. And that, by the way, that presence, that community in Babel lasted, you can say, 2,700, 2,600 years, you can say, up till the 1950s, where we were expelled. Right? That community never left. Even in the second Beit HaMikdash, the small community remained. First big, then small, and then it regrew again. So there we are. You can say this is the first day, the first week that this happened. And we pick ourselves up, we dust ourselves off, and we wake up the next morning. And after all the tragedy, I'm breathing, I'm still alive. Where's my family? Where's my neighbors? Half of them are not alive anymore. And I'm in a foreign land. I don't know where I am. So that's when this was composed. That's the historical concept here. And this is being spoken, as we're going to see, not just from the average Jew, but from the perspective, seemingly, of a Levi or the Leviim, because we're going to talk about songs and singing that are relating to this tragedy at that time. So Yashavnu means we're already in the land, we're living in the land, we're sitting on the rivers of Babylon. The most famous river that is connected to Bavel, to Iraq, is the Euphrates. It's not clear, it says the river is in plural. But you'll see why in a moment, why it's mentioning rivers. But the main idea here is Bachinu. We're crying because we're remembering our home, our wonderful Yerushalayim, our Bet HaMikdash, our land, our status, the Shekhinah, the way we were meant to live, and the chosen nation crashing down, now strangers, captives in a foreign land, and we're crying. And now a further, let's say, description of the scene, Pasuk Bet. Al Arabim betochaha talinu kinnorotenu. What's Arabim? Doesn't mean Arab. Arabim, most commentators say that you could relate to the description of the Torah of the four species regarding Sukkot. Arve Nahal, which is a willow tree that grows on the Nahal, on the river. Aravim betocha, that's where I was stationed, on these willows that are in this land by the rivers. Talinu, according to most commentators, it means we hung. The tlot means to hang. Kinuraten, our harps. What does that mean, we hung our harps? Well, some say, well, us, the tribe, the Levite tribe, the Leviim, who just yesterday or just weeks ago or months ago, we were using our instruments to sing to and sing out and praise God in the holy temple, the holiest place on earth, and sing our beautiful songs out of Mizmor Tehilim, right? Now it's gone. So some say, Talinu kinurotenu, we like to practice, but we can't in hiding, so we hang it somewhere they can't see it. But most say what this means is it's sort of, it's a symbolic gesture. We say you play b-ball anymore? No, I hung up the sneakers a while ago. I hung up the harp. Halas, it's over. There's no point anymore. There's no music anymore. There's nothing to sing about anymore. It's gone. I hung up the harp. I retired. I've given up, resigned from all types of song and celebration in my desperation, in my sadness, and realizing what the reality of life is, and completely depressed. And Pasuk Gimal tells us that there's a little, you can say, exchange here with the surrounding nation. Kisham she'elunu shobenu debre shir v'tolalenu simcha shiru lanu mishir sion. Because over there in this foreign land, she'elunu, they were asked, or maybe demanded of us, shobenu, our captives, the people, the surrounding people of Bavel. Devrei shir, they wanted us to sing. V'tolalenu simcha, the tricky word, v'tolalenu. Some say v'tolalenu is from the word in the previous pasuk, talinu, what we just hung up, right, was our source of simcha. They wanted us to use it. Some say tolalenu is from lashon yilala, agonizing, wailing, crying, being depressed. They wanted us to turn our depression into simcha. That's preposterous. Some say tolalenu means, it's a complex word, that it means those who are ridicule us. Those who ridiculed us wanted us to look how in the Holocaust has happened. Like Jews, go ahead, show us, sing for us, celebrate for us. It's mocking your captives. But the main thing is that they told us, Shiru lanu mishir sion, we demanded of them. Go ahead, let's see, Jews, sing for us a song of Zion, of Yerushalayim. Let's see what you got. We heard it's so beautiful. It was the most distinguished culture on earth. Sing for us, you Jews. And we were asked to take our harps out or take them down. Maybe that's why we hid them, because we didn't want them to tell us this to begin with. But the point is, it was somewhat mockery and for us, agonizing. And there was a response. Now, did this really happen, or did this just symbolize a new mode of existence? We can't tell. But there's a reaction, and the reaction is a famous one. And is this a verbal reaction or a mental reaction? The reaction is Pasuk Dalet. Ech nashir et shir Adonai al admat nechad. We can't. How can we sing the song of God, the song that we sang to God in the Bet HaMikdash al admat nechad, on a foreign land? It's impossible. We can't do it. It doesn't belong. It's inappropriate. We can't get ourselves to do it. As far as we're concerned, this doesn't exist. We're burying it. We can't exist the way we were anymore. We're resigned to this not being a practice anymore. So is that an actual reaction? And this is a verbal, response that we gave them? We're sorry, we can't do it for you. We don't know. It's probably a mental feeling. We just can't play anymore. It's impossible. And this leads into the famous two Pesukim that we say, before we crush the cup under the chuppah, we got married, and all Jews know this line, that Imishkai was triggered, and with the impetus to say this was, now that they've sort of awakened us, our feelings, and try to say that, compare the way we were, and it doesn't exist anymore, and we can't get the feeling back. It segues us into this famous pasuk, which we'll end with, and we'll take it up again tomorrow. This is something that I'll never forget. If I forget Yerushalayim, I'll forget my right. I'll tell you what that means in a moment. But it's something that I can't practice it anymore. I can only commemorate it. I can only think about it. It exists, but doesn't exist on the ground. It doesn't exist practically speaking anymore. I can't ever forget it. And I have to know that my current existence is always going to be one in which I realize what I love, what I want, who I am, but I can't practice it. How depressing is that? This is the permanent status of a Jew in exile up till today. And what it means is, generally speaking, it means that my right hand, my movement, I might as well not move anymore. If I forget Yerushalayim, why should I exist anymore? That's all I have left. All I have left is remembering who I am, my identity, and relating to it and praying for it to come back. So if I forget that, well, I don't deserve to exist anymore, it's pretty much saying. In the cute Perush, some say it means Yemini is the right hand who plays the instruments, right? You want me to play an instrument? Yerushalayim is in ruins. If I forget that, what's about? I'm gonna play my instruments while Yerushalayim is in ruins? No, I got to, I have to remember where Yerushalayim is right now and know that I can't play songs anymore. But either way, you see this famous pasuk as a reaction to the prodding or the ridiculing of our captors in exile, and our feeling as we reflect back to what we had, what we lost, and where we are right now. Amen.